So AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, suggests that low-income workers should boycott their jobs when they're able to go back to work, that is, but then at that time refuse to do so. So she's saying, don't go back to work when the economy's opened up. All of you low-income workers, we have a clip on this. It's actually ridiculous. But she says, she argued Wednesday that many Americans should protest economic insecurity by refusing to work after the coronavirus-related restrictions are lifted. She made her comments during an interview with Vice TV host Anand Giridharadas, took me a while to be able to pronounce that, by the way, who famously speculated, this is the same guy that speculated, that Donald Trump's sexual insecurity was literally threatening to annihilate the planet. We'll go to that in a minute. But first, we have a clip on AOC, and here she is.
There's a lot that we could be doing right now, but ultimately, I think when we talk about this idea of reopening society, only in America does the president, when the president tweets about liberation, does he mean go back to work? When we, have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that. We're not going back to working 70-hour weeks just so that we could put food on the table and not even feel any sort of semblance of security in our lives.
That's just so ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. Go ahead, Warren. I know you're dying to hit this one.
So this is another person who was a bartender and apparently got all of her knowledge from being a bartender. But her economics, she lived through the Obama depression that we had. And she's still living there. She can't get out of it. She can't shake her head for the fact that under this president, the economy's much better. And yes, there are some people that have to work 70 hours, but there are a lot that don't because the economy's gotten better. A lot of people have gotten off welfare. Mm-hmm. They've gotten off this setting at home waiting for somebody to pay them to do nothing. And the second part of this is she doesn't understand that small business, the 50%, it generates 50% of the country and the state's income. So for all these entitled, rich, whatever, and she's not, but she wants to be in Congress, she's trying to vote herself a pay raise.
Yeah, of course.
They don't understand that the revenue, the things that keep things open, state government open, state employees working, county employees working, teachers working, all these vital elements of our economy. Right now, half the economy is not paying their taxes because of the government shutdown. And yet these people think we're going to come through the other side and open, and the money's just going to be there for the taking.
So half the economy, so the part of the economy that's in government continues to get paid, and they get paid by the taxes that are generated from the private sector, predominantly from the private sector, without question. But the private sector is shut down, and yet
it can't generate those taxes.
And yet she's arguing, well, don't go back to work when you have an opportunity to, because of the fact that you've been abused and so forth in our economy. I mean, literally, we have been abused by the Chinese communists, and here she is espousing communism. Literally, that's what she's saying. Workers of America, unite! Don't go back to work. What the heck?
First of all, let's just address what she was saying. She was saying once this opens up, once Trump opens the economy, probably in a couple of weeks here, and don't go back to work if you're scared of Corona. And you can do that because this is the United States and there is no compulsory work requirement here. And fun fact, the CARES Act that everybody's been relying on for unemployment insurance, especially, gig workers, that doesn't expire until December. So you could conceivably stay home and collect your unemployment until December if you wanted to. Which brings me to another point. One of the people who had a great point about the CARES Act when it was in the House and in the Senate was Ben Sass and Mike Lee and a couple of those other people who were concerned that this, I'm not going to say it's a loophole, but this setup is going to cause some issues with small business economy, whereas people are going to make more money to sit home and not work when things open up, and that is going to be detrimental to small businesses.
Dangerous stuff.
You're seeing it all over where people who had jobs that are still working, at places that are staying open and doing delivery just opted to just not work, and then they stay home and they collect unemployment. And this is kind of the danger of where we're trying to put in all these, nanny state policies, and especially these welfare policies to assist people. And I understand that, but it's also about getting people back to work too, and not incentivizing them not to work.
And she talked about, we don't want you to go back to that 70-hour work week because just to be able to put food on the table, you're working 70 hours. What she didn't talk about is prior to the COVID-19 epidemic, the United States of America had the strongest economy in the history of the world, and people at the bottom were actually moving up faster than people in the middle class.
People, yeah, lower raising wages.
An extraordinary accomplishment of this particular president,
Yeah.
and of course of the American people, of all of the American people working.
3 years of wage growth versus none in the previous 8 years.
But she never misses an opportunity to be able to espouse her Marxist beliefs, and she really is a Marxist. I mean, I'm hoping she loses in the primary. I'm hoping the Democrat, or that she's gerrymandered out of her district.
I'm not one who typically likes to sit and, badger people based on what I perceive as their intellectual capacity. But she's one of those people that when I hear her talk, I just don't understand. Because the other day, if you saw her cheering about the oil, the price of oil, where it was negative $37 a barrel, which basically she was saying, oh, well, there are some strategic issues. And so since oil is in the negative, we should invest in green energy. And it's like, do you understand how pricing works? Now is the best time to ever buy oil
Fill those
ever.
tanks.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fill them as much as you can. In fact, if you can, go buy some tanks, bury them in your yard and fill
go
them up with
purchase
oil. If you can, or gasoline. I mean, that would be a really smart thing to do. Actually, for those who can.
Better return than you get on the stock market.
At much better return, and less volatile as well, because it's going to go up at some point.
It's amazing. This is the first time in my life, because first of all, with the regular stock market, because we're talking about futures and commodities here, so you can actually have a negative. Seeing stocks hit zero, the company goes out of business. But seeing a physical commodity enter the negative was just wild. Never in my life had I seen anything like that.
Absolutely.